Over the last several days, professional wrestling fans across the planet continue to talk non-stop about three men: The Rock, Cody Rhodes, and Roman Reigns. And who can blame us, really? These three guys are on-screen responsible for creating, intentionally or unintentionally, one of the greatest professional wrestling social media movements of all time in the #WeWantCody movement. And they're also responsible for giving us one of the best and most dramatic professional wrestling press conferences of all time. I mean, not quite dramatic like the AEW Brawl Out press conference that saw CM Punk get into a huge fight and get suspended for 9 months, but I'd say the WrestleMania kickoff press conference was the good type of dramatic. And while we're all at fever pitch levels of excitement for this road to WrestleMania, there is one more player in this saga that we absolutely need to talk about. The chief content officer of the WWE, Paul Levesque, aka Triple H, aka Hunter Hearst Helmsley, aka Terrorizer, aka Papa H, and also, of course, Kratos from God of War. Because over the last several days, we've been seeing the resurfacing of one of the most storied professional wrestling rivalries of all time: The Rock versus Triple H. And even though both of these men are years removed from being in-ring competitors, it appears that these two are destined to clash yet again. Because it doesn't matter whether they were both rookies, mid-carders, main eventers, or professional wrestling executives, it's clear that the fabrics that have woven this time and space have determined that The Rock and Triple H are just destined to fight forever. So let's talk about it. As always, don't forget to subscribe to this channel, ring the bell for notifications. If you're a wrestling fan, I know you're gonna like this YouTube channel because we upload daily wrestling content. Now, in case for some reason you didn't watch the WrestleMania kickoff press conference, or maybe you actually turned it off after the slap and you didn't see the actual end of this thing, let me catch you up to speed on how Triple H fits into this Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, Bloodline, and Cody Rhodes saga. After Roman Reigns insulted Cody's father, Cody just returned the favor immediately by exposing the Bloodline for being a sham and telling Roman Reigns that his grandparents would be ashamed of him. Then The Rock went full big bro on this situation, stepped up to Cody Rhodes and slapped him harder than Will Smith slapping Chris Rock. Then there was a brawl that was gonna break out until the powers that be jumped in and separated the brawl, and one of those powers being Triple H, who was shortly interviewed by Jackie Redmond after all of this happened. Before the interview could really dive into any real details about what just had happened, TKO board member Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson interrupted Triple H's interview, an interview, by the way, where he was being referred to as Paul, which I think is actually quite telling of the situation. They have a cuss-filled back and forth with The Rock demanding that Triple H, quote, fix this. Now, for me, this back and forth, how The Rock demanded that Triple H immediately fix the situation, and the fact that Triple H was being referred to as Paul in this environment, had me wondering what the on-screen and real-life power dynamics are between Triple H and The Rock. In real life, Dwayne Johnson sits on the board of directors of TKO, which is the parent company of both the WWE and the UFC. Meanwhile, Triple H is the chief content officer and head of creative of the WWE, which is a subsidiary of TKO, which from a corporate structure means that The Rock actually sits above Triple H in the corporate pecking order. It's interesting to point out that Triple H is the head of creative because before all of this, there were actually reports that that Friday night edition of SmackDown where the cucking of Cody Rhodes took place, in which Cody Rhodes seemingly gave his WrestleMania spot to The Rock to go face Roman Reigns for whatever reason, was apparently a decision that was allegedly made by The Rock with the blessing of TKO, seemingly pointing that he can actually go above Triple H or override any of his decisions. Now, if that's actually true, obviously these are just alleged reports, then we actually have our first bout of evidence, the first real life bullet fired by The Rock as he hijacked creative from the head of creative. Again, these are all alleged rumors from wrestling outlets, which none of you should trust. But all of these power struggles are off of television. It's nothing but corporate maneuvers with the end goal of increasing the stock price of TKO so that rich men can continue to get richer, which ultimately means I don't care. I only care about what happens on TV. And as of the making of this particular video, Triple H is often referred to on TV and in those post-premium live event press conferences as the chief content officer of the WWE. So we know that Triple H, at least on screen, is this powerful figure in the WWE. WWE. That's been made very clear. However, the same cannot actually be said about Dwayne Johnson yet. They hadn't actually talked about The Rock's role in TKO on WWE television. For all intents and purposes, at least on TV, The Rock is just this legend coming back to wrestle in the WWE, a Hollywood megastar here to give us dream matches that we never thought possible. The fact that The Rock sits on the board of directors of TKO and is actually above Triple H in the corporate structure and corporate ladder of TKO hasn't actually been mentioned on WWE TV, it hasn't been alluded to, and it hasn't been used in WWE storytelling, at least not in the lead up to that WrestleMania kickoff press conference. Until the most recent episode of SmackDown, where Triple H cut a fantastic promo to let me, you, and the world know who the hell is in charge of the WWE. Now, I did upload a 20-minute review of this particular episode of SmackDown, which included some deeper thoughts on this Triple H promo over on patreon.com/SantiZap. Over there, I do upload reviews of every show like NXT, SmackDown, Raw, and I also provide you the podcast 3 days earlier than everyone else. So go check it out if you want even more wrestling content, more than what I already upload here on a daily basis. Again, that's patreon.com/SantiZap. I'll put the link in the top of the description or in the pinned comment. So let's talk about this Triple H promo on SmackDown, where Papa H looked straight at the camera and told us that the drama at the press conference was caused by, quote, people that don't know their role. Which, fair enough if you don't know what that means in case you're a newer wrestling fan, but knowing your role is a common Rock catchphrase, so he's alluding to The Rock here. But for those that have been around long enough, this may just go down as like the most obvious, subtle jab in reference to someone. Triple H then would go on to say that the problems at the press conference were caused by certain people trying to assert their authority when they really don't have any. Which to me, one of those wrestling fans that overthinks too much, is starting to perhaps allude to a future actual on-screen divide between the WWE and the, quote, board of directors. I doubt that they'll ever actually say TKO or try to make TKO the villain of this story, but I'm sure like board of directors would actually work as a pretty good name for a faceless villain organization, kind of like the Patriots in Metal Gear. Shout out if you actually know that reference. Actually, if you want to read even deeper into this situation, just look at the visual symbolism of the Raw general manager Adam Pearce and the SmackDown general manager Nick Aldis, both standing firmly behind Triple H as he's making these very direct comments toward The Rock. Instead of them feuding over talent like they have over the last several months, both GMs showed solidarity and backing of their WWE boss, Triple H, by standing as a united front. A WWE front. Again, to me, this symbolism is starting to hint at a potential WWE authority versus board of directors feud. And Triple H kept going. He cut even deeper by saying, quote, I don't care where you sit, there is one thing that is abundantly clear. Whether people like them or not, the answers come from one place and one place only, and right now, you are looking at them. And then Triple H would go on to once again reaffirm that WrestleMania will be Roman Reigns versus Cody Rhodes for the WWE Championship. Or for those reading between the lines, he basically just said, Rock, suck my nuts, I'm Triple H and I do what I want. So Triple H said he doesn't care if people like or don't like the decisions that he makes, but what if The Rock and the board of directors don't like that decision? That isn't exactly fixing the situation like The Rock demanded that Triple H do. Well, for that, Triple H had a message. He said, it doesn't matter if you don't like that decision. Honestly, that whole promo was just absolutely phenomenal. We got like 5 Dwayne Johnson references without ever actually saying Dwayne Johnson or The Rock. Frankly, the closest thing we got to Triple H saying that he was talking about The Rock was Triple H pausing when the entire arena started chanting Rocky sucks. So it's pretty obvious that we're going to be getting The Rock versus Triple H, or some sort of authority versus bloodline narrative, which obviously has me and many of you very excited. But I've also been seeing a lot of people hoping that we get The Rock versus Triple H at WrestleMania this year, which Which, okay, I get it. The Rock versus Triple H is one of those legendary feuds that never got its own WrestleMania match throughout the 90s, the Ruthless Aggression era, and they never even culminated that like really intense face-off that they had back on SmackDown in 2014 in the height of the Authority storyline. And that hinted for sure at an upcoming WrestleMania match, but the Rock schedule is just bananas. So why not now? Why not have The Rock versus Triple H at WrestleMania 40 or 41 or 42? Because we don't want Triple H to die. That's it. That's why not. That's why we don't do this. Triple H had a life-threatening cardiac event back in 2021, which completely ended any notion of Triple H ever getting back into the ring. Triple H literally has an implanted defibrillator to shock his heart back to life should he suffer another cardiac arrest. And I don't know about you, but I'm not particularly lining up to have Papa H put his life on the line for a wrestling match. I don't want to see him die on screen, and I also don't want to see him get electrocuted live on TV. I think we're all probably on the same page there. But just because we can't get The Rock versus Triple H in an in-ring match, it doesn't mean that we can't still get a great feud between The Rock and Triple H. After all, wrestling is more than just what actually happens in the ring. I can already picture an awesome feud revolving around a power struggle, who gets to make the decisions, and who truly rules the world of the WWE. And this feud, even though it won't ever culminate in a Trips versus Rock match in the ring, can still provide us years of great matches and great television. Like, if you want a WrestleMania feud that involves Triple H and The Rock, maybe there's a WrestleMania match where the winner controls the WWE. And since Triple H can't actually wrestle, maybe they do like a Game of Thrones trial by combat type of scenario where he gets to pick a champion to take on The Rock at WrestleMania. And if I got my way in this situation, I wouldn't even have to think twice about this situation, because I'm immediately booking Randy Orton versus The Rock at WrestleMania. One, that would serve as an absolutely fantastic dream match and would serve as a nice callback to 20 years ago when they had a match at WrestleMania 20. Two, narratively, Randy Orton actually makes sense in this scenario, since Randy has just so much animosity and unfinished business with the Bloodline. And what better culmination of this than to take on the final boss of the Bloodline in The Rock? And three, Randy Orton is like the quintessential fruit of Triple H's labors, dating back as early as Evolution, and when Randy was like the face of Triple H's Authority faction in 2013 and 2014. Like, Randy is like an extension of Triple H. This type of feud between The Rock and Triple H can also open up the door to like an Avengers Endgame type of Survivor Series war games between Team WWE Authority and Team Bloodline led by The Rock. Just think about the hype as fuck team that Triple H could put together. You could get like Randy Orton, Cody Rhodes, Seth Rollins, even Logan Paul kind of makes sense in this scenario, since he recently just came out about the problems that he's had in the past with The Rock. LA Knight, Gunther, Braun Breaker, quite seriously, just an endless list of Triple H guys. I mean, like, there's a reason why the term Triple H guy even exists. Maybe this even opens up a door and a possibility for Stephanie McMahon to come back into the picture as some sort of on-screen authority figure as well. There's just so many awesome ways that this feud can go without it actually involving a match between Triple H and The Rock. And I can just sit there and fantasy book all the possibilities all day, every day. But really, the fantasy booking possibilities are genuinely endless, because this type of wrestling narrative hasn't really been explored in the WWE. Yes, we've had authority figures in the WWE, and we've had power struggles between those particular authority figures. But at the end of the day, we know it's forced and fake drama, because there's only one guy that ran the WWE, and everything ran through that one guy, Vince McMahon. But a Rock versus Triple H feud is different than what we've had in the past. Obviously, it would still be scripted and manufactured to be entertaining and dramatic, but it brings a level of realism that we've never seen before, and potentially some fourth wall breaking events that were never really possible unless we had this type of real world dynamic between WWE, TKO, the Triple H dynamic, and the board of directors. Like, all of that stuff is real, and they can use that stuff to create an awesome narrative on TV. This on-screen feud would be a feud between a real WWE executive and a real life board member of that parent company, TKO. It's gonna leave a lot of fans wondering where the line between something real and fake starts and ends. And frankly, you can't put a price on that. In a day where smart fans can logically predict where narrative threads are going to start and end, this could potentially entirely buck that trend by actually leaving any and all fans in the dark when it comes to the outcomes of where the story is going to go. Is this a Triple H decision? Is this a TKO decision? Is this something done by the board of directors? Is The Rock going rogue and going above Triple H's head? It's going to be pretty difficult to see where things go, because there's going to be scenarios where we won't know what's scripted and what's a real life corporate dynamic. And personally, fellas, I for one am here to be on this ride. In fact, you could say that I'm just gonna know my role and play the game. Time to play the game, and I back all of it. Thanks for watching this video. Let me know your thoughts on this entire situation. Here's a question for you in the comments. If you were to create a Bloodline versus Team Authority Survivor Series War Games, who are you putting in this match? Who are you putting in this Ultimate War Games dream match? Let me know, but for now, that's it. I'm done. Get out of here.